Emotion. Emotion? Emotion. 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 That went on way too long. But now you know what we're talking about. Here we go. Emotions. Let's define it. It says a complex experience that begins with a stimulus and includes two things. So first we have our physiological response. Our heart rate can increase, blood pressure, sweating, all these physical things that are going to be happening. And also we experience subjective emotional feelings and expressions. So sometimes it's hard to, you experience these emotions and it's hard to not react physically, posture, crying, stomping, all these things, these emotional feelings that we experience. Now, you don't have to write any of this down, but I just think it's fun. Colors evoke certain emotions and businesses know this. So think about some of these ideas, some of these emotions that these colors are supposed to create, and think about the businesses that are connected with them. So red, bold, courageous, energetic, stimulates the appetite. Let's think. I got a bunch up there. My favorite, the McDonald's right there. Man, I love me some French fries. Super good. Orange, friendly, cheerful, confident, fun. Think about any companies with orange. My childhood, way over there, Nickelodeon, Crush, Fanta, Firefox. Firefox feels like a more fun internet browser than Google Chrome. I always use Chrome. All right, yellow, we have optimism, clarity, warmth, positive. Denny's. Denny's makes me feel good in the morning. It's like bright, sunny, wake up, go to Denny's. And honestly, National Geographic, I feel like a better person. I feel more positive when I read National Geographic. I feel like I'm helping the world, even though I'm not. Green, this one makes the most sense to me. Balance, harmony, health, growth, freshness. Think about grocery stores. Think about restaurants. We got Whole Foods, Sprouts, my favorite place to buy produce. So good. Animal Planet, Starbucks, Subway, eat fresh. Very healthy. Maybe. We got blue, trustworthy, strong, dependable, secure. Think of like offices. Ford, built Ford tough. We got Lowe's, Walmart, Facebook, NASA, HP. HP feels like an office, right? And then purple, we have wise, creative, imaginative, royalty. Wonka. Oh man, I love Willy Wonka. I love the movies. I love the books. I love the candy. And then finally, we have black. So I think prestigious, serious, bold, maybe classic or high class, expensive. Prada, Puma, good stuff. Puma? Is Puma? Theories. Okay. So our first theory, we got psychoevolutionary, and this is Plutchik, and he categorized emotions to 8 different categories. Don't write down the 8 categories of emotions. You don't need to know them, but know that he came up with these 8 categories. It's widely accepted, and he has this wheel, and these 8 emotions are kind of in the middle. Now, as you go further in towards the middle of the wheel, they get more intense. So fear becomes terror. And then on the outside, they become less intense. So fear becomes like apprehension. And then there's also connections between two of them. So like fear and surprise, you connect that together and it kind of creates a sense of awe. So that is psychoevolutionary, Plutchik, categorizing 8 emotions. And then we have 4 different theories of how we experience emotions. So the first one is James Lang. And you might recognize the name. So William James, do you remember what he came up with? It was functionalism way back at the beginning of the year. And Carl Lang, they together came up with this idea that physical reactions lead to emotional feelings. So I have a little graphics here to kind of help us think about this. So think you're hiking in the woods, you see a mountain lion. Holy smokes, you get this physiological response, right? The hair on your neck stands up, you get tense, you get some adrenaline, your pupils dilate, you get that fight or flight. That's your autonomic response. And that autonomic response leads to conscious feeling, leads to the fear that you experience. So they would say stimulus, autonomic arousal, conscious feelings. The physical reactions lead to the emotional reactions. So that's James Lang, the James Lang theory. Next, we have Cannon Bard. So they said that physical reactions and emotional feelings happen at the same time, simultaneously. So you see the mountain lion, at the same time, you experience fear and you have that physical response. This was in reaction to the James Lang theory because they said if your heart rate starts racing, does that mean that you're in love? Does that mean that you're angry? Does it mean that you're scared? And so there has to be something else going on with that. And so they would say the emotion and the autonomic arousal happens at the same time. Here's how I like to remember it. Cannon barred, mnemonic time. Think of a cannonball shooting, and when it hits, there's an explosion, and you get emotions and physical responses at the same time. Okay, so cannonball, cannon barred, explosion, you get them both at the same time. All right, the next two get a little more complex. So we got the two-factor theory, and this was saying that physical reactions go along with our conscious interpretation. You have to have the conscious interpretation to create those emotional feelings. So you see the mountain lion, you have the physiological arousal, the reaction, but then you also think about why are you having that reaction? Well, it's because that mountain lion is about to eat me. And so then you experience the fear. And then our last one is Lazarus. Really, it's cognitive appraisal. So similar to the two-factor theory, but our conscious interpretation happens before you get the emotions and the physical reactions, which then are simultaneous. So you see the mountain lion, you think about it, and then after thinking about it, you experience the fear and the physical reaction at the same time. This one makes the most sense to me, the cognitive appraisal theory. All right, let's talk about how we express emotions. And there's a wide range of ways that we do this. We cry, smile, we punch a wall, holding hands, punctuation, capitalization. My mom texts me in all caps, and I'm like, Mom, why are you yelling at me? I love you. Nonverbal communication, you know what this is. We communicate mostly non-verbally. Think about facial expressions, posture, how far we are from somebody else, our distance. We'll talk more about that in a second. Non-linguistic vocal characteristics, our pitch, our speech rate, all these things communicate emotions to somebody else. Facial feedback is fascinating. This is talking about the relationship between our physiological response and our feelings. So what you could actually do is if you're in a bad mood, you sit there and you make yourself smile. And you smile and smile and smile and smile. And after a few minutes, guess what? You're going to feel better. And on the opposite happens as well, right? If you sit there and you just put on a grump face, kind of a frown, and you sit there for a few minutes, you're going to start feeling worse. But we actually get these emotional responses to our physical states. Just smile and you'll feel better. You can fake it till you make it. You can fake laugh and you get the same benefits as if you're actually laughing. Okay, the facial action coding system. This is Ekman. Him and a team, they put together this huge study where they studied all the movements that facial muscles can make, and they found more than 5,000 expressions that humans can make. That's fascinating. Zoom. Pretty cool. There's display rules. These are appropriate ways of expressing emotions based on our culture, based on the cultural norms. So if you compare like the United States versus like East Asian cultures, very different display rules. What's appropriate, what's okay to do, what's expected, and what's not okay to do. And then finally, we have micro expressions. These are momentary and involuntary expressions. They just a split second that often reveal true emotions. We don't know we're doing them. We don't often recognize them in other people. But if you're videoing somebody, you can slow down the video. And if they're lying or if they're trying to hide something, there's these tiny expressions. And usually it's like a little wrinkles in the forehead right here. You give a quick little boop, and that usually means that you're hiding something, you're covering something up. Now, going along with that, we have polygraph tests, lie detectors, and what do? They actually test your heart rate, your blood pressure, your breathing, and they have skin sensors too, looking for stress-inducing change. These actually read arousal, not emotion. Okay, I just realized that I'm wearing the same shirt as this guy. Very similar shirt. That's weird. That's not me. All right, body language. We express emotions through body language 3 different ways. So one is kinesthetic. Think about your gestures, movement. When you communicate, if you're using a lot of hand movements, right? Very jerky movements. You might be angry, fast and jerky, slow and small, maybe sad, tired, anxious. Is anybody a fidgeter out there, right? If you're anxious, you're tapping your foot, biting your nails, I don't know, doing all this stuff. Posture. Standing up straight or slumping, confident or depressed. Even if this is similar to facial feedback, even if you are anxious and nervous going into a room, if you stand up tall, shoulders back, walk with confidence, you're going to actually feel more confident. And then last, we have proximity, so personal space. This is so interesting to me. Edward Hall identified a range of different comfort zones where people are comfortable based on how close they are with other people. Varies between cultures. Personal space for social interactions. Publicly, if you don't know somebody, Over 12 feet, you're pretty comfortable. So if we're both waiting for a bus, we're 12 feet apart, we're feeling very comfortable. Socially, I like to do this with my students. If we're within 12 feet, we're pretty good. I know them, they know me. It's not super weird. I can stand within that distance. Casually, you want to be friends, right? You want to be sitting in your buddy's house in the basement playing video games. You can be within 4 feet. If you don't know somebody, 4 feet usually feels a little too close. And then intimate, 1.5 feet. If you've ever had to sit close to somebody at like a stadium or a movie or something, and you don't know them, and they are like 1.5 feet from you, it is awkward. It is awkward. And I always try and sit real close to people because it's very awkward. I love it. Awesome. Okay, so personal space for social interactions. Emotional expression. How do we express emotions? Couple last things here. Paralanguage, non-linguistic property of speech. I mentioned this before. Could be our pitch rate, right? If I'm using high pitch, I'm very excited. Or very low pitch, might be upset or angry. I don't know. Speech rate also, like how fast you're talking, how slow you're talking, changes how we're expressing our emotions. Text, pictorial expressions, think about artwork, photographs, color, the way that color is used can often display different emotions. And then, of course, my favorite, the emojis. Here you go. Check out this little video right here.
You might be one of those people who's just like, everything is an emoji. I'm just going to text you cauliflower, eggplant, taco, bear. Or you might be more like me, just a few at a time, maybe like a quick wink emoji. But have you thought about why and how you really use them? Or even how they might be influencing your relationships? In a paper published this week in a journal called Trends in Cognitive Sciences, a group of British and Australian cyber psychologists argues that emojis deserve way more research attention than they're getting. They say that these ubiquitous icons offer a unique window into human behavior and a rich data set that can help us better understand how we interact online. In case you've been hiding in a basement somewhere, or you've just never moved past emoticons, emojis are the tiny pictures people use to enhance their emails, texts, and online posts. There's of course pile of poo, smiling cat face with heart-shaped eyes, face with tears of joy, and of course the flag of Belgium. Since their debut in Japan in the 1990s, emojis have popped up in virtually every social network, and by now you've probably noticed that they're especially useful in communicating things like tone or emotion. When you're talking to somebody face to face, of course, these elements are conveyed by the pitch or volume of your voice and your facial expressions. But over chat, it's harder to tell if someone is saying, "Great job," or "Great job." That's where the emoji like winking face or possibly upside down smiley face can help. So what's going on in your brain when you're reading a message like that on your phone? Is it different from hearing someone being sarcastic or seeing someone smirk? And are you experiencing your emotional response in the same way? If you aren't, does it matter? These are the questions that cyber psychologists, and yes, that's a thing, would like to start finding answers to. Some of that means hooking up volunteers to brain imaging machines while they send or receive emoji messages. By tracking blood flow in the brain, neuroscientists can see which parts of the brain are involved in emoji communication and see how it compares to in-person conversation. In other cases, researchers can use social networking sites and observe conversations with emojis to learn more about how we act online. Studies have already found, for example, that people tailor their emoji use to match the situation, which makes sense. It's probably not the best idea to send a bunch of thumbs up or tongue sticking out faces in an email to your boss, but your best friend on Snapchat probably won't mind if you used them. To cyber psychologists, behavior like this is just the beginning. Chances are, in the next few years, we will witness the dawn of a new emoji science.
Love that. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, look, we made it. We're at the review time. Here we go. A couple little questions to review. Think about it, and then we'll be done for the day. According to the two-factor theory, think back, which one was the two-factor theory? The two basic components of emotions are cognitive labels and physical arousal, emotional events and physical arousal, emotion arousal and overt behavior, facial expressions, cognitive labels, attributions, and physiological responses. Think back, two-factor theory, which one was that? The answer is A for Amazon River. I'd like to go there someday. Looks pretty awesome. All right, Hans grew up in Germany, later moved to Japan for a job. Back home, he never had issues making friends, but in his new home, he is having difficulty interacting with his colleagues. According to psychologists who study how culture influences behavior, that's key right there, his difficulties most likely stem from Japan having a more individualistic culture than Germany, cultural differences in emotional expression and body language between Japan and Germany. Hans having developed a brain tumor. Hans' friends were overtly accommodating to his rude tendencies. Man, that went downhill fast for Hans. Sorry about that. Think about it. What do you think? The picture, it's a little tricky. It is B for bees on the hummingbird feeder. I don't know. I love hummingbirds, though. All right, last one. Mark is a flight attendant and began his workday in a bad mood. However, by the end of the day, he felt much happier. According to the facial feedback hypothesis, what may have influenced Mark's mood? Zoom. All right, let's see. The flight was so full, Mark didn't have time to think about feeling bad. The change in flight altitude helped decrease Mark's stress. Because it's his job to be courteous, Mark smiled at passengers frequently. Mark helped passengers, who then told the supervisor how nice he was. Or Mark is good friends with some of the other flight attendants, and they cheered him up during the flight. Facial feedback. You got it. The answer is C for crosswalk. Nice. All right, guys, we did it. Way to go. Do me a favor. Give me a quick 20-word, one-sentence summary of the notes. You were the best. Great job today. See you next time. Later. Class is starting. Kids are knocking at the door. Gotta go. By the end of the day,